I'm going to introduce you all. I'm just going to give you control. Hang on. I've got glasses on today, and I don't normally have them on. I can't see a thing.
I've lost mine, you know. I can't find them anywhere.
Right, you're now in charge.
Cool. Allow. I think is that ready?
Yeah, just say you allow recording if you can, please.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
Right, smashing. Right, everyone. So today we are talking to Samm Steele, and this is really amazing because she's a former student of the level 3 course, and I'm going to let her tell you what she does and everything, and let her take charge, and I'll butt in when you want me to.
Cool. Hopefully, so am I sharing my screen right now? Is that?
We can see your face at the moment. Oh,
like if I do that. 1 second. I've not ever like sort of shared my screen on Zoom before, so you will have to give me a second.
Don't you worry about it.
Let me just share screen. Oh, there we go. Share screen, screen 1. There we go. Or we'll go for the window. There. Cool. Right. Just let me know when you can see that. Can you see yourselves? You're probably able to see me and everything.
That's it. We got it.
Yep, you got that. Cool.
Yep.
Right. So 1 second. My notes have disappeared. Let me just. Sorry, I've never used Zoom before to share everything, and for some reason it's not showing my presenter notes. There we go. Okay, brilliant. Right. Hey guys. So yeah, I am Samm. I live in Bruff, or I used to live in Bruff with my parents. You might know where that is, but I now live in Nottingham. I did go to South Hunsley School for secondary school. I then did the 3D art and design course, like Andy said, at Bishop Burton, and then I went on to game art at DeMontfort in Leicester, and then I now have a job at Deep Silver Dambuster Studios. So that's a little information about myself to start off with. I'm going to be talking about why I chose to go into the video game industry and like my university experience a little bit, because I wanted it to be a bit relevant to like everybody. You know, not everyone's going to go into games or anything, so it might help you decide going to university if it's for you and stuff like that, or maybe some alternatives to university as well, because that's always something to compare to. You know, it's good to see all your options and things like that. Yeah, so then I'll be talking about what my job is and types of roles within the video game industry, because there's actually like a lot of roles that you might not realize exist. I definitely didn't. Even after I was in 3rd year, I'm pretty sure I didn't know all these different types of roles existed. So it might be a good insight into that. And then I'll do questions. Does that sound okay?
Smashing.
Good. Cool. So why did I choose video games in the first place? So starting from the beginning, I kind of knew what I enjoyed at college. So I kind of knew I liked doing the 3D side of things. When we did the interior like design stuff and architecture stuff, I really enjoyed doing that, but I know that I didn't really like doing the scale drawings or the 2D side of things, but I really liked the 3D. And like as we went on, I really liked doing all this stuff in, you know, Google SketchUp, and I'm not really sure what you guys do now, but if it's something similar, then you might know what I'm on about. So I did that, and 1 second, my thing, yeah. So that was really good, just to experiment with a lot of things. I know some people might think like, oh, just why, what's the point in doing this project? This is rubbish or whatever. But honestly, I think sometimes you don't realize what you might enjoy. So definitely just try absolutely everything out. Like, even if you think, oh, I know I don't like this thing, you might like it if you try it. So that would be my advice for, you know, any of the projects that you might do in the future. So yeah, that's how I kind of knew I wanted to steer into 3D, but I honestly didn't know what job options would be available for that, because I knew I liked, you know, architecture, and I knew I kind of liked things like maybe product design a little bit, and I liked things like interior design, but I kind of didn't like them all enough to be like, yeah, let's go do an architecture degree or something like that. And I probably had a bit of a misconception with architecture because I was like, oh, it's going to be loads of maths and it's going to be like a really long process till I become an architect. But it's probably not. But yeah, so that's why I kind of thought I didn't really want to do that. So I kind of stumbled across like, you know, game courses. I was like, okay, well, what about video games? It was never something I thought you could ever do. I kind of thought, oh, maybe this is something that only people in America do, or, you know, not the average person does this sort of thing. I was like, oh, it'll be nowhere near like in England, it'll be somewhere else in Europe, something fancy. And it really wasn't. It kind of surprised me that there are like games courses all across England, and there's lots of game studios as well in the UK. Like, we're actually quite a big industry. In fact, it's one of the biggest industries, bigger than like film industry and everything. Like, yeah, it really surprised me. I didn't expect all of this. But yeah, the reason why I kind of went into video games, and I didn't realize it at the time, that like actually my whole life I've been playing video games. I mean, I wasn't really like a typical gamer. I wouldn't have described myself. Like, I'd been playing Sims and stuff all my life, and you know, I had, you know, parents maybe sort of saying, "Oh, you're wasting your life on this sort of stuff," and you know, and you think actually this has kind of influenced me a lot into where I've gone now in my career. And I definitely, as soon as I said to, you know, some people like, "Oh, I'm going to do a game art course," and they're like, "Oh, what kind of job are you going to get with that?" And I'm just like, you know, I'm sat here now talking to you guys about my job. So, you know, I'm here now, and, you know, I think I've been quite successful. So, you know, don't let anybody put you off about making any choices. You know, if you know you want to do something, do it, and definitely, you know, apply yourself to the situation as well. So I wasn't going to do a game art course and then just, you know, not turn up to lectures and things and just, you know, prove them right. So yeah, that's kind of why I went into video games. But so my university experience, I'll just move on to this quickly because this bit kind of takes a long to talk about. So my pros for university, I think, I definitely recommend to go if you think it's good for you, like if you think you know what you want to do. And I definitely think you should go to like an open day as well, just so you get to see the place yourself. I did only go to like two universities, and one of them, when I turned up, it really wasn't what I thought it was. But you know, I might not have known that if I didn't go and applied, and then, you know, ended up somewhere I didn't want to be. I was quite fortunate that I went to DeMontfort, and I just really liked the labs. I was like, oh, this is it. This is where I can see myself going. There are loads of other universities that do game courses and stuff, so I definitely just look at what, you know, their success rate with like employment afterwards. That's, you know, that's the main goal, right? So and just the labs, what kind of equipments and things that they have, if you want to go and look yourself. If not, definitely just look at reviews online. If you can't get there yourself, look at YouTube videos of maybe students' work, and just then that'll give you a reflection of what you want. You know, if you can see, oh, that's what I want to do, it'd be really good examples there. So yeah, university, it's a huge step to take. Like, it is massive. Like, it feels a bit overbearing, but everyone's always like, oh yeah, it's a big thing to do, and you know, all this, and it really is. But it is such a good step to take in your life to just learn independence. You know, doing your own food shop for the first time, some people, and you know, sorting out your own bills. It can be a bit, you know, mental, but to do all those things, you've got to do that at some point in your life. So it's really good to just get out there and do that. But yeah, everyone does have different experience and things. I don't think any university experience is the same as anyone else's. Fortunately, mine was like really positive. Like, you meet so many people, you just do so many things, and yeah, it's really well worth it in my opinion. But you know, if you go to university, you'll experience all these things, and you'll know what I'm on about. Like, when you move into your halls, and you might not like some people that you live with, but you know, that's part of it. And then you move in with your mates, and that's really fun, and you know, it's really, really good. Yeah, so great for socializing and meeting people. you learn a lot. Like I kind of underestimated, like, oh, it'll be kind of like college again or something. It's just, you know, keep going and keep going. But you really do learn so much, and not even just from like the lectures. I definitely learned a lot from other students and people in the years above, people in my class. Just, you know, you can turn up to the lectures and leave and that's fine, but I think it's definitely well worth just staying behind, meeting the people that you are learning with and chatting to them about what they, you know, are going through with the projects or something, and learning that way. I think that's definitely one of the main reasons why I even did, you know, all right in the first year, because I think if I didn't even meet the mates that I did on the course, I don't think, you know, I'd have been driven enough to continue, because I just felt so, you know, oh, don't understand what this is, or, you know, something's confusing. But with all the people around me, like, you know, pushing you to get better and stuff, I think that's really important. But yeah, so definitely if you go to your lectures, don't just you know, leave and not socialize with everybody else. Put yourself out there, be confident, and yeah, definitely like just talk to everybody and anybody that you can, and you'll be well on your way. Yeah, so in the first year and second year and kind of in third year, we experimented so much with like making characters, environments. We did lots of traditional drawing. It was a big sort of, you know, in first year, I'll talk about this more later with examples, but in first year, everybody's skill levels are like all over the place. I kind of turned up and I was like, oh, wow, I've made it to university. And then, you know, there's these people that have got degrees in art, like fine art. And, you know, I'm sat there like, oh, I can't even draw a circle. And someone's there doing like a masterpiece or something. But that's totally fine, because everyone's there to learn and everyone's there to improve. And all those gaps where, you know, someone might know something, you know, about a program like a lot, and then you maybe don't, or someone doesn't know anything about, you know, 3D, they've never used it before. So all that, it just, the bridges all close, and, you know, all the gaps like get closer together at the end of the second year. Everyone is on the same level kind of by second year. So yeah, that is to kind of be expected in first year, that sometimes you go over things that you already know and some people don't know anything. So just, you know, be aware of that. Don't let it put you off. So in university, there's like so many opportunities for like trying new things. There's these things called societies. I don't know how much you guys know about like university or anything like that just yet. I think I didn't really know much. I was like, oh, I go to university because that's, you know, what you do or something. Not realizing all the extras that kind of come with it. But yeah, societies are really great. There's just loads of extra things, like if you want to get into rock climbing, just hobbies and things like that. But there's lots of societies that are kind of educational driven. So we had the Game Development Society, and that was such a great opportunity to actually make some games for the first time, because the course is how to make, you know, the art for the games. It's not necessarily about making something work like a real game does. But the Game Dev Society is so just meeting people from games programming, meeting people from animation, or meeting people from audio. Sometimes they would come in and do some music for the game, and that would make it, you know, so much better. And yeah, all kinds of people from different courses. And you just make a game. And sometimes it definitely wasn't like the best thing in the world. There was definitely some bugs, and but sometimes the experience was just so good, and even the outcomes were better than you'd think that they was going to be. It kind of run from like a Friday night to Sunday night, so it was like kind of really long weekend, and we'd have pizza and things like that. And yeah, it was really great just to see the outcomes of what different teams would produce. It was all like from a prompt, a theme, so it was interesting to see where some people took the theme and where some people were like, okay, you kind of thought of that, all right, that's cool. So yeah, that for me was just probably one of the best things I ever chose to get involved with. The first year I was just like, you know, in the society, and we did little bits, and they have industry talks as well and things like that. But the second year I was the social media manager for like the Twitter and stuff like that. But we organised, you know, industry talks, and we organised the weekends of making the games and stuff like that. So that was really, I mean, getting involved and, you know, getting your hands dirty with stuff like that is definitely, you know, something good for your CV. It makes you, you know, you have to work together to do these sorts of things. So definitely makes you look more like a, you know, we're making games not on our own, we're making it in a massive team. You know, you've got to be able to communicate to people and, you know, express your feelings in polite ways. So it definitely is something to get involved with, and I would recommend it. And even just not even in game dev, just in anything. So if you going into university anyway, not anything to do with game development, just get involved with all those, because yeah, they're really worth it. So the cons, I would say, university is expensive. Don't get me wrong. Like, you've got, you know, your student loans, and you've got to pay for your rent, your food, and, you know, maybe expenses on your course like learning materials and things like that. But really, I mean, at the moment with my student loan, I don't really think about it. It is just there, and I'm only paying like £5 a month, and it just kind of comes straight out of my bank, and it's not anything I think about. So I don't think anyone should have that sort of, you know, oh, student debt or anything. I don't think that should be anyone's, like, you know, off put to go into university, because the worth that you get out from, you know, now I've got a job, and, you know, I'm renting here, I'm not, you know, living with my parents or anything like that. I'm paying for my own, you know, taxes and things like that. So it's allowed me to get on with my life and get to the next step. Even though that sits there, it's kind of like a sleep, really. It just kind of sits there. But yeah, and for the kind of, for the arts, I know that some jobs don't necessarily need a degree. I know a few people from my work who have gone their own way and come out like studying in their own time online and things like that, and not had a degree, but, you know, had a really good portfolio to show from it. So that, I think, is good. And, you know, if you're a driven person, you can definitely get by that way. But I think for me, I wouldn't have got a job as quick as I did if I didn't go to university. I think I would have lost motivation at some point down the line, especially, you know, if you want to manage having a part-time job or something at the same time. You know, I definitely would have said something like, oh, I'm just too tired to get on with this work, you know, or if I got stuck, I've not got anyone to kind of like talk to or anything like that, you know, to help me fix a problem or anything like that. So yeah, it definitely, if I knew what my future was going to be, maybe I would have done it. But at the same time, I don't think I was ready to make that kind of decision or commitment. So I think university was just, you know, I was in that zone. I was surrounded by the people doing the same thing as me, and it definitely got me pushed to learn more and make myself better at my craft. So that's my cons for kind of university. But, you know, I think overall definitely was worth going. Yeah, I'll just touch on some of the things that we did at uni in case anyone was interested in kind of what we did what I did over the course of the 3 years. So first year was kind of like introduction to all the softwares and things like that, and we were doing like drawing fundamentals, like life drawing, and, you know, I'm never really good at life drawing, but, you know, you do it anyway, and you actually improve, and you know, it helps your art and form and structure and things like that. So yeah, we did, like, you know, group projects, we did little dioramas and made, you know, sometimes for people it was the first time they'd used 3D, so, you know, very, very mixed results. Some people had already used 3D before and they were like amazing. But yeah, we did like little houses, and we all put our houses together. We like collaborated on, you know, the style of the roofs and things, and trying to match it up together enough, and made a little scene and everything, and that was really cool. And we did the like little characters and they were based on ourselves for like the village that we made. So that was quite fun to do a character. I'd never thought of even going into character art really at that point, but I think after this project I was like, oh, I really enjoy this actually. Maybe it's something for the future, I don't know. So yeah, that was kind of first year. Second year was developing skills in like ZBrush and things like that, like more sculpting and We did another group project as well, which was even bigger, and it had like, you know, a theme and everything as well. And we did some characters, and I think we had more introduction into Unreal Engine at that point as well. So that was good. So then on to third year, I kind of got more into what I wanted to get into. So I think at third year, you can kind of really choose if you want to be characters or if you want to go into creature art, or some people might have gone into vehicles or weapons. And I went to environment just because that's what I felt like I wanted to do. But yeah, those were kind of the things I was doing at that point. But I only went to uni till Christmas, and then I got a job at Dambuster. So I didn't really do a final project or anything like that, because my final project was working with Dambuster. So my grade at the end was like marked from being working there, and then the previous stuff I'd done. So that was that. Yeah, so learning online. This could be useful for anybody who wants to do, you know, anything in the creative arts sector or anything like that. There's so much to learn. There is so much to learn online. I wouldn't say it's a replacement for like university, but it definitely, you know, if you're waiting over the summer to go to university, just, you know, look at some of these websites. They will have lots of, you know, information on, or, you know, beginners guides and things like that. So Skillshare, I know that has like a few bits on it from game developers and things like that. And ArtStation Learning is probably a really good one, because that is kind of game dev orientated. And I think there's some people from work that have done like tutorials and, you know, steps into Substance Painter. I'll explain what those are like later, but yeah, they've done like, you know, walkthrough tutorials on things like that. Patreon, I think there are some game developers on Patreon. I have seen it pop up. I've not looked myself, but I think there could be some good things on there. Just have a browse, I guess. And YouTube, like, oh, it's free. You might as well just have a look. There's so many tutorials on YouTube for Unreal Engine and anything like that, and you can get a lot from, you know, for free on that. So, you know, just YouTube it, check it out. So yeah, the pros of like learning online, obviously it's cheaper. It's not, you know, was it 9,250 a year or whatever, so it's definitely cheaper. You obviously, I don't have a student debt, but I don't think that is much of an issue. And you get to learn at your own speed, I guess. That could be a pro for some people. Some people might think they're not going to keep up with uni, which I think for me, I like working by deadlines. Nobody likes a deadline. Nobody likes having to put like, you know, 5 a.m. and they're still doing their work or anything like that, like I did in the first year. But it definitely got you to submit your work and finish something. I don't think I'd have had the momentum mentally to just get a project done and finish it if I didn't have that deadline to push me. But if you know, some people's situations can be completely different, and you know, maybe they need to have a full-time job whilst learning. So if that is, you know, someone's case, then definitely, you know, online learning is like, you can do that by, you know, your own pace. The cons, yeah, so staying focused, I definitely couldn't stay focused. I'd definitely want to be like, oh, I want to go out with my mates or something, or, you know, I'm going to go see so and so today or something instead. So yeah, I'd say, yeah, balancing part-time work and personal work, it is like a pro in itself sometimes, or it can be a con, because if, you know, you're working a job and it takes priority, maybe you have to do a few extra hours or something like that, then it, you know, your learning becomes the backseat, and you know, you might forget about it and just, you know, put it off a lot. There's a lot less opportunity to like direct questions at people when you're stuck. So, you know, university learning new programs, oh, what's this button, oh, I've got this error, you know, I was constantly asking questions like by the minute, by the second, like when something's gone wrong. So if you do have an issue with something, obviously you've not got a tutor there to just be like, hey, this thing's gone really weird, how do I fix it? You know, they come over and fix it for you. So you've not really got that, you know. There's definitely forums and things like, you know, Reddit and all that sort of thing, like where you can ask these questions, but you're not going to get maybe a proper good reply, you know, maybe few hours or even days. So yeah, definitely that's probably my biggest con about learning online. And yeah, less networking opportunities. I think really for me, I wouldn't have got my job if it wasn't for Dambusters even coming in, because they were doing like a bit of a talk. Loads of studios come in and they just look at third year work, they give advice and critique and things like that. And if it wasn't for them coming in and they saw my work and we chatted about it, and then they went back and wasn't really expecting it, but got a LinkedIn message like maybe the next week or something, and a few of us did get jobs that way. I work with another 2 other people who did the exact same as me, and they got the same job, Dambusters, all 3 of us, and someone else got a job at Sumo Digital in Nottingham as well, and that's how that worked out for a lot of people. So I definitely do, the credit that I would give to the universities for, having this contact that you might not have yet, is definitely a big plus side to going to university. Yeah, so LinkedIn, you guys have probably heard of LinkedIn, but definitely get yourself on it. Definitely make yourself a really good, smart profile, no memes or anything like that. I know we're like, game developers and things like that, but we do have to be kind of professional. So if you haven't already got a LinkedIn, get one. Or if, you probably don't really need one right now, but definitely when you're in second year or looking for jobs, or even just if you want to network with anybody, or just build that up, get that now, and you can just start connecting with people. Twitter is a really good one for game dev. It's really active for game devs in Twitter, and lots of people, like students, share their work and get feedback from people and just make themselves known, because the industry is actually quite small. Lots of people know each other. I mean, there's lots of us, but everybody knows everybody, and like I'll be working with somebody who knows someone who was someone else who at my uni, like 2 years above me or something, and it really is kind of small in that way. So yeah, be careful what you say online if it's such a small community, but also definitely use it to your what's the word, like your advantage, because people post things, like students, like when they need a job, they're like, hey, I'm open for work or whatever, and people will be retweeting it and getting that sort of action online, and that's really useful. And Discord as well. I don't know much about Discord. I'm not really active on it, but there's a ton of people who are. Actually, I wrote down some things about this. So there's some people at my work who run like a Dynasty Empire or something called the Design Den and stuff like that, and they're really useful tools for where if you want to post your work and get that critique and learn from them, or if something new is coming out or something like that, and they'll probably be posting online in that and having updates or whatever. So yeah, those are like my recommendations if you do want to go into like game dev and start networking and just seeing what it's about, like just learning bits along the way, seeing how other people work and stuff like that. I think it's really useful. So right, what is my job? I've talked a lot about like how I got there and everything like that, but I've not really spoken about what I actually do. So my job is, so I'm an environment artist, and I make and create props and assets and things for the game. So things like your tables, your chairs, or buildings, or landscape, maybe foliage, your trees and things like that. It's all that kind of stuff. So my day-to-day, like I'd say, would be, I use Autodesk 3ds Max basically every day. I don't know if you've heard of Autodesk or anything like that, but it's basically like your Google SketchUp or like kind of CAD sort of thing. So yeah, my process would be sort of, you make the asset in 3ds Max, and then you would take it to something like Painter, Substance Painter, and that would be like texturing, and if something is wood, like a wooden chair or something like that, then you'd make it look like wood and do all the wear. If there's some chips and things in it, that's what you do with that. Then I would take that and put it in Unreal. So Unreal is like a game engine, and you might have heard of it. Lots of games have been made in that. And I think Unity as well is a good popular one for students. You might have heard of that as well. But yeah, then you basically put, you know, your mesh in engine and with all your other props, and you assign all your materials, you know, into the engine on your props and things. And that's like the bare bones basics of what it is. But yeah, that is kind of most of my job, but a lot of my other part of the job is to sort of align level design with art. So I'll, you know, this is just a little image from Uncharted, but because it's like they've got all these cool little process pictures and things, and obviously I can't show any of my games. So yeah, this is just like, you know, as an example. We do what is called like a white box. So design will white box something, and that's like everything from your, you know, deciding where doors are or how you go into a room, or, you know, if there needs to be a place for cover, then they'll put like something there. But for me, I have to, like, you know, make sure we know what that cover is and it's not something weird or random. Make sure it's the right height as well. So if level design are like, oh, we want this crate for cover or something, and I'm like, okay, I need to make something for that, and I need to make sure like it's enough to cover the player, but then, you know, maybe they need it to be short enough so you could shoot over the top or anything like that. So I do a lot of communicating with level design to figure out their madness of, you know, level design. At the moment, I've been doing lots of work with cutscenes actually as well, where cutscenes will be like, oh, we need, you know, we need this piece of paper or something, or we need this specific thing for, you know, maybe a laptop that opens up or something. The process for creating the assets for those are basically the same, but you have to kind of maybe make choices on how you author like the asset. Like it might need to have a pivot in a certain place so it hinges right, you know, when the character comes to open something like a door or whatever. Yeah, so similar process, but it's kind of communicating with another department about, you know, how they want something set up. And of course, like we kind of translate lots of concepts and things from 2D into 3D. So you could, I mean, to be fair, like if you really like digital painting or something like that, or illustration, you could totally become a concept artist and do concept art for games or films and things like that. So the first image down there, I think, is just the paint over of a level by an artist, and then the second one, it's just like, you know, how they've actually done that in the game in 3D. You know, they've added all their foliage and things like that. So I do that quite a lot, where I'll get given a concept for just an area and I'll kind of follow it as much as I can. So with concepting, you kind of have to go with as much as you can with the concept, but there will be some sort of limitations, like, oh, you know, this looks really good, but we can't really have this many trees because the game won't run. Or, you know, there's this piece of log here, but actually level design want to climb that wall, so we can't really have that. Let's move it, you know, to the left or whatever. So you just have to kind of make informed decisions on that process, you know, of what the game needs and what we want to achieve, and make every, you know, department happy about what's going on. So yeah, that's basically my job. It's kind of a lot more than I thought it was like ever going to be. I thought, oh, I'm just gonna, you know, let's make these chairs and tables, and then actually I'm discussing all these like other things, trying to make all these departments happy and aligned with what's going on in the level. So I just want to touch on like types of job roles in the video games industry, because I didn't know anything about the industry going into it, even at uni level. So there's so many different jobs out there for this industry. So we've got things like studio managers, and they're the managers who communicate between the like publishers and the communication in the studio and stuff like that. Our studio manager, like at the moment, Rob, he actually used to be an environment artist. So don't ever think, you know, what you're going to decide now going into uni is going to be, you know, where you'll be for the rest of your life, sort of thing. Like definitely, you know, your career path is going to be whatever you make of it. You could do a uni course and go into a job, and then actually you change your mind and go into a different role. So don't be trying to decide everything straight away or think that, you know, that's what you're exactly going to do, because your path will probably end up being like a piece of spaghetti, to be honest. So yeah, we have studio managers. Obviously, we have a HR department, like a lot of companies do, which sort out all your employment and contracts and things like that. We have producers for like every department. So the producers, they like make sure that we're getting all our tasks done. Everything is, you know, going to the targets that we need to do in the time that we have. And if we're blocked on any task or something, they'll kind of try and unblock it and figure things out. So that's what they do. Some producers actually that I know, like they used to be in environment art or level design and things like that, and then they've gone into the PM side of things. So that's, you know, different kind of career path there. Obviously, we've got directors as well, like art directors and creative directors or gameplay directors. These are the guys that like shape the games and things. So, you know, your art director will tell everybody, you know, this is what the game is going to look like. This is what we should be doing. Creative directors, they're like, you know, making sure the game's fun and we're doing what we want to actually do in the game. And like gameplay directors, they're kind of similar as well, where it's like, you know, are we wanting to do anything with weapons, or are we going to want, you know, this kind of car, and are we going to, you know, is this going to be the main theme of the game and things like that. So yeah, so we've got obviously the art department, the best department. So with art departments, you know, you've got your character artists, environment artists, which is me, and weapon artists, vehicle artists, or you've got concept, 2D, which they handle things like any sort of posters in the game or branding of, you know, pizza boxes or Coke cans and things like that. They handle all that sort of thing. If you're like interested in any like illustration or anything like that, definitely, you know, if you're going to go into an illustration course or something at uni, that's how some people do that, and then they go into illustration for games. So there's that. Tech art, which is more like building tools to help artists do things quicker. So if there's something really tedious that like an artist will have to do all the time, they'll script something and make it done in a button click or something like that. I know a few people who did the same course as me who have gone into that side of things because they're just kind of interested in art, and then at uni they kind of got into the scripting and learnt some things like that. We've got UI. So UI is like, you know, the HUD, the buttons that you click, the menu screens, and, you know, if you have a skill tree or anything like that, you've got, you know, someone needs to design every single aspect of a game. So there's a job for it basically. And yeah, and VFX as well. That's, you know, if you've got a wand or something and it's got all these sparkly like particles around it, that's VFX. Or if you've got fires or explosions, and if you've got water, all that sort of thing is by the VFX people. So it's kind of like everything you see in a video game is just split up into loads of different, you know, people who know how to do that particular thing. That is kind of mainly like a AAA game like thing where you'd split it all up like that. Sometimes, you know, in indie dev with smaller teams of like maybe sometimes even 5 people making video games, sometimes they'd do more roles, like you'd get an artist who does characters and the environments, or maybe you'd have someone that does level design and the art as well, because the team's so small you have to like do more than one thing, which suits some people really well if you want to be able to have that kind of like control and do that sort of thing. But yeah, in AAA generally there's all these kind of roles all split up into like pieces. And also every studio is different. So this is generally what the studio where I work at is like, but places like Rockstar and other places like that, they have other types of roles that are maybe even in between art and level design and things like that. So yeah, level design, obviously the people that design what you do in the game, you know, where enemies are and things like that. Game designers, gameplay designers even, they're like the people who decide, oh, if we're going to have weapons, how powerful is the weapon? And if we're going to have mods on this weapon, let's, you know, what is it and how does it react? And if that button's interactable, what does it do, and things like that. Animation. I don't know if anybody here is like into animation, or if they've done a little project with clay animations or anything like that, but you can definitely do an animation and then go into game animation. So that's like everything that the character moves and does, like if they're holding a weapon and it's shooting, they'll have to rig all that up. Cutscenes and things like that, how, you know, they interact with things. If something moves, basically animation do it. So that could be something that you might be interested in. QA. QA are like the quality assurance. They test everything in the game. So they'll test the balance of the game. If this bit's too hard, you know, there's too many health kits over here, like let's get rid of some or whatever. You know, they'll be the ones that are giving that feedback to the developers, and they're really important for that, because we're so busy making the game. You know, if we're not playing it or having people play it, how do you even know your game is, you know, good or achieving what you want it to achieve? So that's what QA is. They do, like, you know, play the game day in, day out, and log bugs and tell you where things aren't working, or, you know, things like that. We've got audio as well, actually. So audio are just like, you know, the music or anything that makes sound. Like, you know, you'd be walking past and a little vent's making a noise, or you click something and it makes a ping sound or whatever. They do all of that. So I don't know if any of you guys are really into audio or anything, but if you was into your music, or, you know, designing music and stuff like that, that could definitely be a career path there for you. And yeah, games programmers, this is the part where I don't really know much about what people do. Games programmers obviously code everything for the program, for the game, and they just make it work. I don't really know how, but they just make it work. Same with engineering, actually. They do like lots of tools and things like that to help the whole team do what they want to do quicker, and they make sure the game runs and everything, and they do, you know, all the behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, I don't really know too much about them guys, but they work really hard, and they're a big department, and they're kind of like wizards or something. Cool, right. Sorry I've had to speak really fast, but I really wanted to get all that sort of stuff in. Are there any questions? Because yeah, I realize I've talked like really fast, and I'm like nearly out of breath.
I've got a few standard ones, and I've got one from a student. Some of the students sent me questions that were much more about titles that you might have worked on, or gameplay, so I'm not steering away from them to talk more about the design aspects of them, obviously. But one of the good questions that did come up from one of them was that if you've worked on a game that does become popular and increases in popularity, is that a good feeling? How does it feel when you see that happening?
Well, I've not released a game yet. This is my first game I've worked on, and we're working on the next Dead Island game. So I can't really talk about what's in the game, but you know, obviously it's zombies, and you know, and we're working on it. But it is a really cool feeling to like look online and see what people are saying about it, and you're like, oh, you know, I know the real, you know, answer to this question, but obviously you can't say anything. But it is exciting to see the hype, like behind the scenes, like everyone sees something like, you know, oh, this person's posting about, you know, our game and what we're going on about, and yeah, I'm excited to release, and it's going to be a really good feeling when we finally get to reveal everything to everybody. But yeah, not just yet.
Right, so going back to one of your projects you did when you were here, and you showed an image of it, it was your zombie hospital, zombies again.
Oh, yes.
Now, I used to show that at interviews quite a lot, to point out that in order to have done that, you needed to have researched into what appropriate furniture would be used and what the interior looked like.
Yes.
So how important has research become as part of your job if you're creating props and surrounding?
Oh, yeah, it's a big part of prop creating and everything. Usually, so when you do a project at uni, and this continues into, you know, when you have a job in it, you will have to do research of what is in something. Like, you know, if you're wanting to do like a hospital scene, you know, you got to know what area you're doing it in, question everything. Who's been in this bed as well? Like, would they have certain belongings next to them on the bedside table? Would they, you know, what kind of technology was around at that time, and making sure you're getting things from the right eras and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely do a lot of research when you're doing a project to get the right things, because you want to achieve like a feeling, like you want to go into that, you know, hospital or whatever, and be like, you know, this is a hospital, it looks real, it looks like everything someone would expect from it, everything, you know, if someone from who actually worked at a hospital went in there, you know, you'd want them to think, yeah, this looks like my work, you know. So yeah, you definitely do lots of research, and sometimes even concepting 2D or you know, sketches and things like that to get things of a composition that you want. You know, think about where your first shot is going to be from, and what angles and things like that. So yeah, lots of research, concepting and drawing, and you know, change your ideas and, you know, form them and build on them and things like that. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, absolutely. No, again, the answer to this one, I think, is pretty obvious, but this is a very popular one the students like to ask, and that's, are you happy in your job? Are you on the right path?
Oh yeah, definitely. I forgot to mention earlier, but so I really do love my job, and I really like being an environment artist. I couldn't see myself doing anything else. It just hits everything that I wanted to do, like something creative, working with people, and, you know, communicating with lots of people as well, and you know, making people happy, obviously with video games. So it really does get everything that I really wanted to get out of a career. And but also I wanted a career progression. I think I didn't, you know, I don't want to be an environment artist forever. I think I could probably, maybe my career could move into a role that's maybe more creative direction or something like that. Because I do love working between all the teams and making sure, like, you know, if the flow of information isn't going very well between two departments, I really want to, you know, get in there and be like, oh, what's going wrong, let's sort it out, let's get it, you know, moving and stuff. So I can definitely see that that's where my career could probably go. But yeah, I am really happy with my job, and everyone, you know, that I've come from uni with is really happy with their jobs as well. And I do think, even if you go to university and do a degree in something and then actually end up having a job in something else, people kind of laugh about that sort of thing, but I think actually it's one of those things where if you've done a certain, you know, way of things and then ended up at something else, but you're still just as happy, I'd say that that was successful anyway, because, you know, I've had some friends at uni who've done everything to do with like game development and then actually gone into tattooing afterwards, but, you know, he might not have got to that journey if and that, you know, decision if he hadn't have done all those things in the end. So even though he did a course in something completely different, he's now doing tattooing and he's really enjoying it, but he had to do all those steps to sort of figure himself out and what he wanted to do. And I think it's important to know what you don't like doing just as much as what you do like doing. So yeah, I hope that helps.
I get the feeling as well that, and you just said it sort of now, that you absolutely love teamwork and working as part of a team. You did mention that at uni sometimes there are people you might not get on with. I'm pretty sure at work there might be people you don't get on with, but how do you overcome things? How do you overcome that to work as a team? What brings the team together as a group of people who can work together?
I think one of the things you got to remember with teams, and, you know, it's depending on the context. You know, first year I lived with some people that, you know, you get on with it because it was like, you know, it's only a year, and, you know, they're making a mess in the kitchen, whatever. It doesn't, you know, I'm not going to be thinking about this problem in a year's time, and it's going to be, you know, it's just temporary. So I think it's definitely, you know, at work, if you're thinking, oh, this person's done this thing and, you know, why have they done this or whatever, you've got to remember that everyone's having the best intentions with this. With making a game especially, everyone always wants to do the best work that they want to do, and they just want to make a good game at the end of the day. So no one's doing anything for, you know, in spite of anything. So you've got to remember that, you know, if something is going wrong and you're like, oh, I don't quite like this, you just got to make sure you're going to the appropriate person or channels and getting your feedback heard in a good way. But that's, you know, that's all you can do. You can just give feedback to somebody and be like, oh, actually, I think this might be better this way, just because of this reason and stuff like that. And they'll take that on board and be like, oh yeah, actually, I didn't think about that. But yeah, teamwork is such a it's big. It's more than I ever thought. You know, everyone's always like, oh, you got to have good communication and stuff like that, and you really do. I think, you know, there's some times when people, you know, if you can't communicate well, you won't be able to express what, you know, your opinion very well. So yeah, definitely teamwork is just, it's one of the biggest things in any industry, I think.
Yeah, you said about how when you first said you wanted to go and study game design, that, you know, there were certain people, maybe, you know, family, friends, whatever, that doubted you and doubted that there would be a job at the end of it and that it wasn't a real thing. What do they say now?
Oh, well, I can tell you from the start, my parents are like, you know what? I'm so glad that we let you play those games. And they're like, oh, I'm so glad that you knew what you wanted to do and you just did it, and you did well. It is a good feeling now to think, like, you know, I think especially with, you know, I don't want to say adults, but a lot of people were like, just, they didn't understand video games. You know, why not be a doctor? Why not be, you know, a police person or something like that? And video games is such a big industry. I don't think they realize, like, you know, how many people, like, you know, go into making a game. You know, at my workplace, we've got, I think maybe about 160, no, maybe less than that, over 100 people at my studio. And, you know, that's even like a medium-sized studio. You know, somewhere like Rockstar has so many more people working there. And if you think for how long as well these games go on, that's just, you know, to make, it's a lot of people, and there are lots of jobs. I just think it's not really out there that there is a lot of jobs in games, and all those different departments have, you know, lots of people in all of those departments. So yeah, it was a good feeling to just be like, actually, I've got a job. Even when you said it, like, you know, apparently there was no jobs. Another thing as well with game art and stuff like that, it's the transferable skills are really good, because game art and the film industry, they share lots of similarities. I could probably, if I really wanted to, I could move over into CGI, and, you know, you could do a game art course and then move into working for something like Disney or DreamWorks. You could totally do that. So don't ever dream, you know, small. There, you know, are so many things that artists can do that people don't really realize.
Okay, right, last question, and this is one we throw at everybody, is top 3 tips for working in the creative industry.
Oh, definitely thrown it at me.
It's really great. You'll
top
whittle it
three
down.
Top 3 tips for what was it? Working in the industry.
Working in a creative industry.
Top 3 tips. Plan your time very well. In first year, I definitely was up till 5 a.m. one time for a hand in, and I planned my time, but I changed my ideas that many times that I got really close to the deadline. I was like, and I'll work till 5 a.m. I slept through the deadline. Luckily, there was some crash on the system to submit, so they'd extended it to the afternoon. Don't do that. Just do what you can do in the time that you've got, because it's just important to finish something rather than have it perfect, because nothing is going to be perfect. You're just going to have to do what you do, move on to the next thing, and then you'll see your improvement through that. So yeah, plan your time. I would definitely say that my job isn't my life, and I think that's really important, because, you know, some people do live, breathe, eat video games, and that's completely fine, and that's, you know, up to them. But for me, a work-life balance is definitely important. I want to be able to have hobbies that are away from the screen. I want to be able to do my work and do my job and have fun doing it. But at the end of the day, I just want to, you know, I want to switch off the computer. Let's go do something else. Yeah, so that's definitely an important one for me. And I guess for anybody in creative industries, otherwise, if you do something a lot all the time, you're going to get burnt out, and that's not a great feeling to feel. You know, maybe it might you'll become like mentally exhausted, and you might get burnt out and not have any ideas, or you feel like you can't draw for a few days or something, or, you know, maybe what you're doing for that week is just rubbish because, you know, you need a break. So definitely like good work-life balance with that, and that goes for university as well. Don't just spend all your time studying and trying to get, you know, learning all this stuff. You do need downtime. and just chat with friends and have a bit of a laugh at the same time. And the third one, I would say for me, I guess it is just remembering like why you went somewhere in the first place. So like for me, I want to have this job and I want to be able to obviously pay my like, for rent or buy a house. What do you want to achieve in life as a whole? Like you want to be able to just have freedom to go on holiday, or spend your money where you want it, or spend time with your family. At the moment, obviously I live like away from my family. Everyone's living in Yorkshire still, but that is probably my biggest thing that I think about. I'm like, oh, I am kind of away from my family, but I am able, living here enables me to do so much more, because there are jobs in the north and there are jobs there, and maybe I'll move there at some point. Nothing is permanent. So that is one thing that I do think about, is like, what do I want to surround my life with now? I want to surround it with friends. I want to do my work and I want to be with my family. So I guess you just got to think about what, why you want to do a job in the first place, and what that enables you to then do as well, and not just the job. So yeah, does that answer that?
Yeah, that's perfect. Right, well, this has been an absolutely fantastic talk. You've told us some really good stuff there, really brilliant stuff, and we're really grateful that you gave up your time, and thank you work as well for letting you do this.
Oh no, honestly, it's fine. I mean, I'd love to do this again. This is like kind of my secondish presentation, and I felt like I had a lot to talk about, and I definitely, if anybody's got any questions and they want to just, drop me a message on Twitter or LinkedIn or anything like that, definitely just do it, because I do get messages from people, other students and things, and they're like, oh, how did you get your job? How was your interview process? There's all these things that I've not covered today, about, what an interview is even like and what kind of questions they ask. And, if you have anything like that, just ping me and I'll answer it, hopefully.
Brilliant.
As quick as I can.
Right. Well, I shall say goodbye now, and I'll catch up with you later to make sure we've got links and things and everything we need. And thank you very much for joining us.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks
Cheers
for
for Sam, everyone. Yeah. God, Bennett.
Woo.
That was worth
I love that
getting
teenage
for,
enthusiasm.
See you soon.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.